Are you ready to become awesomer? Hello, everyone. My name is Umar. I'm your host on the No Limit Selling podcast, where industry leaders share their tips, strategy, and advice on how you can become better, stronger, faster. Just before we get started, I've got a question for you. Do you have a negative voice inside your head? We all do, right? I'm going to help you remove that voice in under 30 days guaranteed. Not only remove it, but transform it. So instead of the voice that sabotages you, there's one that propels you to much higher levels of performance and success. There's a link in the show notes. Click on it to find out more. All right, let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the No Limit Selling podcast, where we talk to leaders in real estate and in life on how they grow themselves, how they grow their business, how they grow their teams, and how they make the world a better place. And one of the ways I make the world a better place is not screwing up people's last names. So Peter K, welcome to the program, and I'm gonna let you pronounce it.
Sure. It's Kiriazopoulos.
So one of the things people really want is people to remember their names. No one's going to forget yours. So that is pretty cool. The only name better than yours, I think, that I've ever heard of is a lot of times when Asians come over to North America, they pick a Christian first name. And
Yep.
this guy ended up picking accidentally his first name as Peter, and his Chinese last name was Pan. So can you imagine leaving a message? This is Peter Pan. He always got a return phone call, which is like totally genius.
That's great. But most people just go Peter K. I was at a live taping of another podcast, actually, that some people I know were hosting it. And same thing. He called me out from the crowd. He was like, oh, it's Peter K here. So that's sort of the
Nice.
default. Yeah.
Love that. And so there's ancient times, 5,000 BC, there's villages, people are owning property, someone's got to do a transaction. So, we're way more sophisticated now. But at some point, real estate's been going on, right? Because that was like the wealth in the day for like centuries. Ever think about that? Like you guys kind of just continuing on a tradition that's been around since humans figured out we can farm, and as soon as we were farmers, we were landowners.
You know what? I've never even thought about it prior to, modern times, going back maybe even 100 years. I've never given it much thought in terms of what it would be between some feudal system or, you know, property rights in the 18th century or something like that. So unfortunately not.
Yeah, so we'll talk about what's happening today. I just want to touch one other base that's kind of interesting is we think we're so sophisticated as modern human beings with technology, and you and I are doing magic right now. I totally appreciate that. But in the late 1800s, beginning of the 1900s, if you lived in Manhattan and you wanted to listen to the Philharmonic on nights they were playing, you could get your rotary dial phone and dial in the number and hear it over the telephone. That was streaming in the late 1900s. Can you believe that? And now we do it certainly much more elegantly, but we think all the
And that's
ideas
all
are
on our
new. And
phone.
the answer is no, they're all old ideas that we get to make better.
That's great.
So, Peter, what are three things you love about real estate?
Oh, definitely one, helping people.
Yeah,
I really like where a client comes to me and it's like, we just got engaged. We want to buy our first place. I'm like, that's awesome. So you're just creating a new household. You're starting, you're setting them up in what's going to be their first place. I really like working with first time home buyers. I like the flexibility as well. Like, it's the middle of the day, you're chatting with you and I don't have anyone knocking on my door saying, hey, get back to work. So that's another really great aspect of it. While the hours are a little bit demanding. And then aside from that, wouldn't be lying to say that, I'm in one of the biggest real estate markets in the world here in Toronto, in the greater Toronto area. So the paycheck's kind of nice too.
yeah, they're all three are happy things. And one of the nice things is if you do that first transaction right for new home buyers, you set them on a path of wealth, but more importantly, legacy for their for the kids as well, because if they own a home, likelihood of the kids owning is there, and if you do it really, really well, and you educate and you encourage and you impress, they're probably going to buy another. How many more homes will they buy before they say goodbye? Is it like another 3 homes or 4 homes? Do you know what the average is?
You know what? I think from start to finish, I figure it's somewhere between that 3 to 5 range. Everybody here is like, especially where we are, people are probably trading homes every 5 to 7 years, give or take, right? So,
Yeah. So
um,
probably more
yeah,
here than
and
elsewhere.
then yeah, but again, to that aspect of not just first time home buyers, but buying that second property, let's say, and helping set them up for retirement or future growth on those investment properties as well.
Absolutely. And I think it's such a game changer for families and generations to come. So,
Definitely.
right now, how many people in your organization?
So right now, it's we're fairly new. Like our team is the Compass Realty Group, but that's with a K because of Kiriazopoulos.
Yeah.
And we're affiliated with Remax.
Hmm.
And it's currently right now there's four of us. Like I said, it's been about a year and a half sort of journey
Nice.
evolving with me. There's my wife, and then there's two other agents that work with us on the team. And to be quite honest, never really set out to have a team. I went out from being on a team to starting and working with my wife, and to be the two of us. And a couple of these other agents over the past 18 months have approached and said, "Hey, can we work together?" And I was like, "Sure." I must be doing something right if people are approaching me saying that,
Right.
can we work together? So yeah, it's four of
So,
us. It's they're all really pretty new. So it's a lot of they've all had their licenses within the last 1 to 3 years. So it's a lot of educating, a lot of training, a lot of helping. So, but I like doing that part of it.
one of the nice things about people that are young and dumb is they don't know what's impossible. And so it's like, give them a task. All right, boss, I'm going to go do it. And sometimes when you get people that are more seasoned, it's like, oh no, uh, that's going to be tough. Oh, sure, I'm going to do it. But there's that hesitation, and just getting newbies in that are just ready to attack is like amazing. I had this
Yeah,
one woman that I knew that went into a company, and her job was to call CEOs around the country, landing appointments for a boss, which she did happily, till people around her started telling her, "Oh my God, they're so busy, they don't want to talk to you. How do you do that?" And there was so much doubt that crept in. They said after 3 months, I couldn't do it anymore. But when I was fresh, it was like I was landing
really.
appointments all the time. So yeah, that's like
Yeah, I, I like that fresh perspective that sometimes because they'll come to me and they'll talk to me about ideas, and I'm like, man, I sort of set in my ways of doing this just over a decade, and I'm like, well, that's might not be attainable, but I got to learn. I have to learn to shut my mouth a bit more and let them, you know, roam free and make their mistakes, and then or at least succeed, right, or do something that I wasn't even expecting.
what are 3 areas that you found lacking in you? Because when you're doing your own thing, it's like, hey, everything's working out fine. But then all of a sudden now you're leading people. What were 3 areas that you had to improve your game to step up to being a boss or the leader that you
Well, I'm
want to be?
yeah, that I want to be. Like I said, this is all fairly new, so we're evolving. We're still going through our growing pains. And when you say like three, I've had to learn, I'm still learning. So I'm in the process right now, and it's sort of not micromanaging is definitely one. Just hand them the ball, let them run with it, and sort of guide them when they need it, and stay out of their way when they're so I can. And that's something that I'm still trying to get over the hump as someone who's sort of had the whole integration just with them just on my own, and now I sort of have
Nice.
to feed that out, and hopefully if they drop the ball, they drop the ball, that's fine. I have to learn with that, or if they take it and score a touchdown, then that's even better, and at least I've given them that opportunity. So that's one thing. Definitely blocking off more family time is probably something else, because not only am I working on my own things, I'm working on like there's other aspects I'm taking on that I didn't have to before. Before it was just sales, buy, sell, do all those, realtor duties. And now it's more like admin things and business owner things. So
Right.
blocking more time, yeah, definitely blocking more time off is another one
Time management for
that
sure.
I need to. Yeah, definitely. And I guess the other thing I had to learn is probably continuously trying to stay on top of just new trends or being more aware of of I guess one thing could be new trends within the market or staying on top of coaching or on marketing, just something else so that we're not being sluggish um, in our efforts.
So, Peter, let me ask you a question. When you went to school, who's your best teacher? The one that got the best work out of you in high school and university? Like, who's the person that really helped you shine?
Wow. Oh man, it's a great question. I had one teacher in elementary school who was, um, I guess, would be really tough on me. I would say,
Shout out that
but
person. Who was that person?
uh,
Like the
well, I
name.
had there was there's one guy I'll give him a shout out. His name's Sam Kuda. He was my basketball coach in high school. But he was pretty straightforward. He was a little bit tough on me, but overall, he I think he gave me a little bit of like motivation. He's actually a realtor too now, so that's great. So we're actually colleagues within the industry.
Nice.
But yeah, he's definitely someone that going back that I feel like I can have a coffee with, and this guy was my teacher, but
Brilliant.
I
But
feel
got the
like
best work out of you?
we're like friends. Yeah, I figured just someone who motivated me enough where I wanted to push myself.
Love that. So here's why I asked that question is that the people that you're leading, take them each out for a coffee and somewhere during the coffee ask them, who's that teacher that really inspired you, got you to do the best work? And they're going to go, oh, it was like Miss Janet. She did this. Oh, how did she do that? And then they're going to tell you how they want to be led. Because most people don't know how they want to be led. But when you ask them that question, who is your best teacher? How do they get the best out of you? Then that gives you the blueprint that you can use to help that individual person accelerate. And it will be probably different for each one of the realtors that you lead. And that's one of the mind hacks you can use to just be a better leader just by asking really strategic questions. Was that useful?
Absolutely, that's a great idea. I had no idea, no thought of giving that a shot.
Brilliant. And you can report back and say, Umar, you're full of BS, or, oh my God, it's totally genius. So excellent. So you also work with your spouse, which I worked with my spouse for like probably 16 years of our 27-year marriage, maybe a little bit more, probably close to 20 years. So
Wow.
how do you guys navigate that? Because, you want to make sure you have a great relationship and also a great business. So how do you guys manage that?
It's again, like I said, these are where the growing pains are coming in. We're managing it okay. It's tough to split up scheduling and timing as well too because we have you know two young kids, and so it's not like they can be left alone. And so like if if I'm busy and then she needs to do something, then we have to sort of balance that.
Hmm.
And then also I think we're trying I don't know how if you've had been able to do it, but sort of separate that work and like there's things that are work related and things that are like family and home related. We try to keep a little church and state, but
Yeah.
you know it's a process definitely, and it's new and we're still trying to figure out how to make it run like a well-oiled machine or smoothly.
Oh, brilliant. So here's one piece of advice I'll give you is some part of the day, a half hour, because it's tough with kids and businesses and all that stuff. That's just your opportunity to make her feel loved and her opportunity to make you feel loved, and just no business, no work, no kids. It's just two people that fell in love and reconnecting that way. Of course, kids will have to be bathed and in bed by then, but make sure you carve that little 30-minute segment out without having to fall asleep, because most of the time, I'm sure both of you are exhausted. It's like,
Yeah, pretty much.
so, Peter, as you look at 2023, what are you seeing? The crystal ball that you're looking at, are you? How do you see 2023 coming along?
I see it a little bit. My crystal ball's a little cloudy, but I'll give it a shot. Um, at this point, with we're here in the Greater Toronto Area, Canada. We're looking at Bank of Canada just raised rates this past week that we're chatting, and sales are at 20-year lows for the most part for the last 5 or 6 months. I would probably see continuous with respect to at least probably decade lows going through. There's a lot of talk that spring's going to come and everything's going to ramp back up, and you know, from my perspective, and so I know your audience is specific to Canada as well, but we've had legislation come in where there was the foreign buyer tax and the stress test, the mortgage stress test. These are all aspects that people could get around for the most part. There are eventual loopholes in them. When it comes
Mm.
down to like a central bank's overnight lending rate, it's a brick wall. Like there's the wall, if money can flow around some legislation, but when it comes down to rates, there's no flowing around it. It just hits that
Mhm.
dam. So, from my perspective, it's going to affect affordability, and unless rates come down, or somewhere between rates or prices are going to have to give to get that flowing again, in my opinion. But I think things will eventually pick up once, at a minimum, rates stop rising, and people can adjust to the new levels. Um, but on top of that, I don't see. I'm a little bit more pessimistic view, but there are aspects to the market where people are going to buy and sell regardless. Um, it's
Transactions are
just what
happening.
levels are going to be. People are getting divorced, people are dying, people are getting transferred from work. Like there's transactions that are going to end up happening. I think we've just removed all that speculative activity from our
Mm.
market for right now, and hopefully we can get to, like, I'd say right now we're probably still in a balanced market, considering we've seen um, anywhere between 15 and 20, maybe even 25% drop in prices from the peak in February. And from that perspective, it's actually quite surprising that the inventory levels are still low.
So are sellers getting more closer to reality? I know a few months ago, it was still a lot of sellers were like, "I'm holding on to the price," and then of course they're not selling their properties. Are they getting a better sense of reality now?
Well, I think yes, and I the reasoning I don't know, but I'm thinking the ones that aren't getting close to reality are just renting out their houses, like their properties. They're like, if I can't get this number, then I'll just lease it out and I'll hope for better times within the next
Mm.
6, 12, 18 months. And the ones that are actually selling, they're there, they're meeting reality. And I see it. A house in my neighborhood, um, went for market, probably $300,000-400,000 less than what it could have sold for 8 months ago, 9 months ago. So there are people, in that home has been getting significant activity from what I've seen, and from you know that perspective, it just means that the buyers and sellers are sort of meeting themselves where they can transact.
Nice. So, what is one mind hack or technique you use to be more productive or more efficient that you'd like to share with the listeners?
Oh, well, I look at every day, almost every day. I try to, but ideally every day is just literally the night before. I just jot down what needs to get done the next day. I look at what's the most important,
Something simple,
what's
yeah.
something as simple as I'll write down at least 3 things, because you don't want to take on too many things every day. Um, but I'll write down about 3 to 4 things that I figure are important, or maybe urgent, but definitely important, that I want to get done that day. And then I just make a list of our clients, leads, and prospects that are within the pipeline. and at least I have a, a visual of them so I can keep tabs on, their wants and needs, and to also follow up with them. So that's that's the thing I find that helps me the most.
Brilliant. So you tell me your origin story where you started off in the family business, and it was
Yeah.
industrial cleaning. So you actually went out there and you cleaned. What's one lesson you learned from that experience, going from cleaner to a sales guy to eventually being a realtor? But in that cleaning business, what lessons did you learn that you still apply today, other than I don't want to go back?
Um, I was just gonna say I don't want to go back. um, Man, that it can be really tough to make a buck. It's a lot of work. I look at what, and I still help out here and there when I can, just because it's a family business and you don't want to leave anyone hanging. So you still jump in to help out with a few things here and there when they need them. But for the most part, um, that it's tough. It's tough work, and we should be very grateful for the position we're in.
Absolutely. And I think the one thing I'll carry over, piggybacking on what you said, is we've spoken to some of the most successful realtors in North America. And one of the common themes that come up is it's a business. Work hard at it. Even though it's much cleaner than other businesses, but if you just kind of goof off after you get a transaction or two, this is how you stay mediocre. It's, staying focused on uh, customer first, doing excellent work, and doing the prospecting always, because that keeps the pipeline full.
Absolutely, sowing those seeds. Yep.
Any last words before we part company today, Peter?
I'm not one for words, but I really appreciated you reaching out. And this was really fun.
Brilliant. And what we're going to do is we're going to put all the links in the show notes to reach you. But why don't you just let us know what your website address is?
Yeah, we're at compassrealtygroup.ca because we're based out of Canada. And again, that's Compass with a K. You can find me, you can find my offbeat sort of undressed side, I don't know what the right term is, but on Twitter, just Peter of
Mm,
Record.
yeah.
That's
No
sort of
naked
where,
pictures, I promise. Yeah.
no, no, nothing like that, but
Kind of
sort of
undress.
like,
Yeah, I figured.
yeah,
Brilliant.
so,
Looking forward to that, Peter. Thanks so much for being on the show. And to your viewers and listeners, if you like this podcast, give it a 5-star review, and also look at some of the other episodes. They'll help you get better, stronger, faster. Peter, thanks for being on the show.
oh, much appreciated. Thank you.
If you enjoyed this episode, please go to iTunes and leave a 5-star rating. And if you're looking for more tools, go to my website at nolimitselling.com. I've got a free mind training course there that's going to teach you some insights from the world of neuro-linguistic programming, and that is the fastest way to get better results.